My phone buzzed against the mahogany conference table right in the middle of a quarterly risk assessment meeting. It was not a text. It was a voice-to-text transcription from my mother, Wanda. I adjusted my glasses and read the words scrolling across the screen while my boss discussed inflation rates. The message read, "Simone, honey, listen. Dante and Tiffany are moving in for a while. Tiffany does not like the guest room energy, so we gave them the master suite. Yours. Do not come home tonight. We changed the door codes. Just find a hotel for a few months. You have money, so you will be fine. Love you." I stared at the words. Most daughters would have burst into tears. Most people would have stormed out of the meeting to scream into the phone. I did not do that. I am a senior risk analyst for one of the largest banks in Charlotte. My entire career is built on calculating the cost of disaster and maintaining composure when the numbers turn red. I looked at the message again. My mother had just evicted me from my own bedroom to make space for my unemployed brother and his new wife, who treats me like hired help. They changed the locks on a house that they do not own. My coworker, Sarah, leaned over and whispered, "Is everything okay, Simone? You look intense." I looked at her. I looked back at the phone. For 5 years, I had paid every bill. I had paid the mortgage. I had paid for the food in the fridge and the high-speed internet Dante uses to play video games. I let them live there to save their dignity after Dad filed for bankruptcy. I let them pretend it was their house so they could hold their heads high at church. And this was my repayment: to be kicked to the curb because Tiffany needed good energy. I smiled at Sarah. It was a cold smile that didn't reach my eyes. I said, "I am better than okay, Sarah. I am finally free." I picked up my phone and typed a reply. I did not argue. I did not ask why. I typed 2 letters. "Okay, send." My mother probably read that text and sighed with relief. She probably turned to Dante and said, "See, I told you she would understand. She thinks she won. She thinks she is the matriarch making executive decisions. She has no idea that she just severed the only lifeline keeping a roof over her head. She thinks the lights stay on by magic. She thinks the water runs because she is a good Christian woman. She is about to learn that utilities run because I have them on autopay." And as the meeting continued, I quietly opened my banking app. I did not scream. I just tapped the screen. Cancel autopay. Cancel card authorization. Cancel transfer. I am not a vengeful daughter. I am just a landlord who just received a very clear message that her tenants no longer require her services. If they want to be independent, then I will give them exactly what they asked for. The only difference is that when the lights go out tonight, they will not be able to call the power company, because the account holder is currently checking into a 5-star hotel with a bottle of champagne. I drove straight to Regina's building. Regina is not just my best friend since Spelman College. She is also a pit bull of a real estate attorney who bills $400 an hour. She was waiting for me in the lobby with a glass of wine and a look that said she was ready to sue someone on my behalf. "You look too calm," Regina said as we rode the elevator up to the penthouse. "Your mother just kicked you out of your own house, and you look like you're about to file a tax return." I took a sip of the wine. "It is not her house, Regina." "You know that." "I know that," Regina said. "But does she know that? Does she remember who actually signed the check when the bank was 5 minutes away from foreclosing on them 5 years ago?" We walked into her living room. I set my laptop bag down on her marble coffee table. It was time to look at the ugly truth. The truth I had buried under 5 years of polite nods and dutiful daughter behavior. When my father's construction business went under, they filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. It was humiliating for them. They were the pillars of the community. Deacon and deaconess. The couple everyone looked up to. Losing the house would have destroyed their social standing. So I stepped in. I was 27 years old, and I had just made senior analyst. I used my entire savings for the down payment. I bought the house back from the bank before the foreclosure sign ever hit the lawn. But I made a mistake. A mistake born of love. I let them stay. I set up a life estate arrangement. On paper, it gave them the right to live there for the rest of their lives so they could save face. To the neighbors, it was still their house. To the church, they were still the blessed homeowners. But legally, I am the remainder man. I am the owner. And more importantly, I am the one paying the mortgage, the property tax, and the insurance. They just had to pay utilities. That was the deal. Regina sat down next to me. So what is the plan, Simone? You are not actually going to a hotel, are you? I opened my iPad instead of answering. I have cameras, I said quietly. I installed them inside the vents last year when Dante stole my jewelry to pay off a gambling debt. They do not know they are there. I tapped the screen. The feed from the master bedroom loaded in high definition. My stomach turned, but my face remained stone cold. There they were. Tiffany was standing in the middle of my room, wearing her shoes on my white Egyptian cotton rug. She was pointing at my bookshelf. The bookshelf that held my MBA diploma, my breathless nights of studying my corporate awards, and the first dollar I ever earned. Get rid of all this dusty stuff, Tiffany said, waving her hand dismissively. She sounded like she owned the world. It is bad feng shui. I want this whole wall to be a yoga corner. I need good lighting for my live stream. My brother Dante was there laughing. He grabbed a stack of my books, expensive leather-bound finance textbooks. He tossed them into a black trash bag like they were garbage. You are right, babe, Dante said. Simone is a hoarder anyway. She is always trying to prove she is smart. It is annoying. We will clear this out tonight. Then my mother walked in. My mother, who I had taken to brunch last Sunday. My mother whose medical bills I paid without blinking. She looked at the trash bag filled with my achievements. Just put it in the garage, Wanda said. Or the trash. It does not matter. Your sister is not coming back for a long time. We need to make room for the baby. Regina gasped next to me. Is she pregnant? I zoomed in on Tiffany. She was sipping a glass of wine. No, I said, my voice dropping an octave. She is drinking Merlot. She is not pregnant. She is just using the idea of a grandchild to manipulate my mother. And my mother is so desperate to be a grandmother that she is willing to throw her own daughter onto the street. Wanda touched Tiffany's arm. Anything for my grandson, she cooed. You just rest, honey. Dante can move the heavy furniture. We will paint these walls tomorrow. That gray color Simone likes is so depressing. We will paint it pink or blue. They were talking about painting my walls. They were talking about destroying the property value of my asset. Regina looked at me. Simone, that is a breach of the life estate agreement. The contract explicitly says they cannot alter the structural integrity or cosmetic appearance of the home without the remainder man's approval. I know, I said. I closed the iPad cover. The screen went black. I did not feel sad anymore. The sadness had evaporated, replaced by a clarity so sharp it felt like a blade. They want to play house, I said. They want to pretend they own the kingdom. But they forgot who pays for the castle walls. I opened my laptop. The glow of the screen illuminated my face in the dim room. What are you doing? Regina asked, leaning forward with a wicked grin. I am balancing the books, I said. I logged into the Duke Energy portal first. My username and password auto-filled. There it was. The monthly draft setup. $250 a month to keep them warm. To keep them comfortable. Click. Manage autopay. Click. Cancel. Confirm cancellation. The screen asked me, Are you sure you want to stop automatic payments? I clicked Yes. Next tab. The water department. Cancel autopay. Next tab. Xfinity high-speed internet. The gigabit connection Dante uses to stream his video games all day while he pretends to look for a job. Cancel. Next tab. The homeowners association fees. Cancel. I worked in silence. The only sound in the room was the tapping of my nails on the keyboard. It was a rhythmic, destructive sound. I was dismantling their infrastructure one service at a time. Then came the banking portal. I pulled up the credit card statement. It was a platinum rewards card. I was the primary account holder. Wanda and Dante were authorized users. I looked at the recent charges. Sephora, $200. That was Tiffany. Liquor store. $80. That was Dante. Home Depot. $300. Paint supplies. They were using my own money to buy the paint to cover up my existence in my own home. I picked up my cell phone and dialed the number on the back of the card. I put it on speaker so Regina could hear. Automated voice for lost or stolen cards, press 1. I pressed 1. A representative came on the line. Sarah. She sounded nice. Hi, this is Simone. I need to report some cards as compromised. No, not my main card. Just the authorized user cards ending in 4567 and 8901. Yes, I believe they are being used for fraudulent purchases. Please cancel them immediately and do not issue replacements to that address. Done. In seconds, the plastic cards in their wallets became nothing more than scrapers for ice on a windshield. I hung up and looked at Regina. I was not finished. I opened my email client and started a new draft. The recipient was Regina's professional email address, even though she was sitting right next to me. We needed a paper trail. We needed this to be official. Subject formal notice of breach of life tenancy agreement. 4502 Oakwood Drive. I typed fast. The words flowed out of me like legal scripture. Dear Counsel, please accept this correspondence as formal notification that the life tenants Wanda and Robert Jenkins have violated Article 4, Section 2 of the Life Estate Agreement regarding the preservation of property assets. Video evidence secured on this date confirms unauthorized destruction of personal property belonging to the remaindermen and intent to deface the interior structure through unauthorized painting and renovation. Furthermore, the introduction of unauthorized permanent residents, specifically Dante Jenkins and Tiffany Miller, constitutes a violation of the single-family occupancy clause. I paused. I looked at Regina. Send the letter, Regina said softly. Send it via overnight courier. They need to sign for it tomorrow morning. I hit send. I sat back in the leather chair. My heart was beating slow and steady. On the iPad, I could see them still moving around my room. Dante was laughing, tearing a poster off my wall. Tiffany was spinning in my office chair. My mother was holding up color swatches against the wall. They were celebrating their victory. They were celebrating the exile of the one person who made their lives possible. They had no idea that the electricity flowing through the lamps was already unpaid. They had no idea the water running in the tap was on a countdown. They had no idea that the credit card in Dante's pocket would decline the next time he tried to buy a pizza. They wanted me gone. They wanted me out of the picture so they could rewrite the narrative of our family. They wanted to erase the successful daughter who reminded them of their failures and replace her with the golden son who made them feel needed. Well, I was gone. And I took my wallet with me. Regina poured me another glass of wine. To independence, she said. I clinked my glass against hers. To independence, I repeated. I watched the iPad one last time. Tiffany had just flopped onto my bed. My bed. She was kicking her shoes off onto my duvet. Sleep tight, I whispered. Enjoy the air conditioning tonight. Because tomorrow, the real world comes knocking. And unlike me, the real world does not care about your feelings. The sun came up over Charlotte at 6 a.m. From the balcony of Regina's penthouse, I drank my espresso and watched the city wake up. It was quiet here. Peaceful. The air smelled like rain and expensive landscaping. But on the screen of my iPad, the scene was very different. I had the volume turned up. I wanted to hear every single sound. In the kitchen of the house that used to be mine, Tiffany was staring at her phone with a look of pure confusion. She was wearing a silk robe that I'm pretty sure she stole from my closet. She tapped the screen of her iPhone furiously. "Babe!" she yelled out. Her voice was shrill enough to crack glass. "Babe, come fix this stupid app. Uber Eats is broken." Dante shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He was wearing boxer shorts and scratching his stomach. "What is wrong now, Tiff?" "My card is not working," Tiffany snapped. "I am trying to order the gluten-free pancakes from that place downtown and the matcha latte with almond milk, but it keeps saying payment method declined. Use your card. I am starving and the baby needs nutrients. Dante sighed and pulled his wallet out of his back pocket. He pulled out the platinum card. The one with his name on it but my credit score behind it. He typed the numbers into her phone. There, he said. Done. He hit the order button. We watched the screen. For a second, nothing happened. Then a bright red error message popped up. Transaction declined. Contact your financial institution. What the hell, Dante said. He stared at the phone. This card has a $20,000 limit. Simone pays it off every month. Try it again, Tiffany screamed. She threw the phone onto the granite countertop. He tried again. Declined. Maybe the system is down, Dante muttered. He looked nervous. He knew deep down that the system was never down. Simone was the system, and the system had just crashed. I took a sip of my coffee. Regina was laughing softly next to me. Watch this, I said. I picked up my phone and opened the Mercedes Connect app. On the screen, Dante gave up on breakfast. Fine, he said. I will go pick up some drive-through biscuits. I need to go to the jewelry store anyway to sign the papers for your upgrade. He grabbed the keys to the SUV. My SUV. The one I let him drive because his beat-up sedan was embarrassing for the family image. He walked out the front door. I switched the camera view to the driveway. He unlocked the car. The lights flashed. He got in. He pushed the start button. Click. Nothing happened. The engine did not roar to life. The dashboard remained dark. I tapped the lock symbol on my app again just to be sure. Vehicle immobilized. Stolen vehicle protocol initiated. Dante pushed the button again. Click, click, click. He slammed his hands on the steering wheel. You have got to be kidding me, he shouted. He got out and kicked the tire. Back in the kitchen, my mother walked in. She was wearing her Sunday church hat even though it was Tuesday. She saw Tiffany fuming by the coffee maker. Where is my coffee? Wanda asked. Why is the pot empty? Tiffany turned on her. Ask your daughter. We cannot order food. The cards are dead, and Dante cannot start the car. Wanda waved her hand dismissively. Oh, stop being dramatic. Simone probably just forgot to update the expiration date or something. She is so scatterbrained lately with all that work. I will call her. My phone rang on the table. It was the first call of the day. I let it ring. I watched Wanda's face on the iPad screen as she listened to my voicemail greeting. Her face turned red. She hated being sent to voicemail. She hung up and dialed again. Then again. Finally, she held the phone up to her mouth and left a message. I could hear her recording it on the camera feed, and a few seconds later it popped up on my phone. Simone, pick up the phone right now. This is ridiculous. Tiffany is hungry and the cards are acting up. Open the app and fix it, and unlock the car. Dante needs to run errands. Do not be petty just because I asked you to give us some space. We are family. Fix this immediately, or Tiffany is going to laugh at you for being so incompetent. I played the message for Regina. She called you incompetent, Regina said. The woman who has not paid a bill since 2015 called you incompetent. Wait for it, I said. Look at the driveway. A white truck pulled up to the curb. It was not a delivery truck. It had the Duke Energy logo on the side. A technician in a hard hat walked up the driveway with a clipboard. He did not go to the front door. He walked around the side of the house to where the meter was attached to the wall. Dante saw him and ran over. Hey man, what are you doing? He asked. The technician didn't even look up. Work order for immediate disconnect. Account holder requested termination of service at this address. What Dante stammered. No, that is a mistake. We live here. My mom is inside. The technician shrugged. Not my problem, sir. The order came through this morning. Final reading is done. He reached into the box. He pulled a lever. Inside the house, the kitchen went dark. The hum of the refrigerator stopped. The little light on the coffee maker died. The Wi-Fi router in the hallway blinked once and went black. Tiffany screamed. It was a high-pitched sound of pure panic. My internet, she shrieked. My live stream was buffering and now it is gone. Wanda ran out the front door. She looked terrified. "Stop," she yelled at the technician. "Turn it back on. I am a senior citizen. You cannot do this." The technician was already walking back to his truck. "You will have to call the office, ma'am. Set up a new account. Pay the deposit. Have a nice day." He drove away. My mother stood on the lawn in her church hat, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. She looked at the silent house. She looked at the dead car. "She is doing this," Wanda whispered. She realized it then. This was not a glitch. This was an execution. But the final blow had not even landed yet. Dante's phone pinged. It was the only sound in the sudden silence of the driveway. He looked at the screen. His face went pale. Paler than I thought was possible. "What is it?" Tiffany snapped. She had followed them outside because the air conditioning had already stopped blowing. Dante looked like he was going to be sick. "It is the loan," he said. "The loan for your upgraded ring. And the financing for the honeymoon." "What about it?" Tiffany asked. "Denied," Dante said. His voice was a whisper. "They denied all of it." Let me see that Tiffany snatched the phone from his hand. She read the email out loud. "Dear Mr. Jenkins, we regret to inform you that your financing application has been rejected due to a significant drop in your credit score. Your current score is 520. 520, Tiffany screamed. She looked at him with pure disgust. "You told me you had excellent credit. You told me you were an investor." Dante stammered. "I was on Simone's cards. Her history was my history. She removed me. She took her credit history back." "You are a loser," Tiffany spat the words out. She threw his phone onto the grass. "You are a broke loser living in a dark house with your mommy." She turned to Wanda. "And you told me this was your house. You told me you had money. You are just a fraud." Wanda gasped. "How dare you speak to me like that? I am the lady of this house." "What house?" Tiffany laughed. It was a cruel sound. "The bank owns this house. Or Simone owns it. I do not know. But you definitely do not own anything." Tiffany stormed back inside to pack her bags. Dante stood in the driveway looking at his phone in the grass. He looked up at the security camera. He looked right at the lens. He knew I was watching. He looked scared. For the first time in his life, he was not the golden child. He was just a man with no credit, no car, no power, and no sister to fix it. I closed the iPad. Regina looked at me. "Do you want to call them?" "No," I said. I stood up and smoothed out my skirt. "I have a meeting at 9. I have to go earn the money that they are no longer spending." I walked to the elevator. My phone started buzzing again. 86 missed calls. And counting. Let it ring. The knock on the door came at exactly 10:45 in the morning. I know this because I was watching the security feed from my office while I sipped a bottle of sparkling water. The air conditioning in my parents' house had been off for 4 hours. I could see the sweat glistening on Dante's forehead as he paced the living room. Tiffany was fanning herself with a magazine, her face twisted in misery. They thought the knock was the power company coming to apologize. They thought it was salvation. Wanda rushed to the door. She smoothed down her dress and put on her best church lady smile. She opened the door expecting a technician. Instead, she found a man in a charcoal gray suit holding a thick manila envelope. "Are you Wanda Jenkins?" the man asked. His voice was flat. Professional. "Yes, that is me," Wanda said, trying to look over his shoulder for a utility truck. "Are you here about the electricity? My daughter made a terrible mistake with the bill." "I am not with the utility company, ma'am," the man said. "I am a process server. You have been served." He thrust the envelope into her hands and turned around. He did not say, "Have a nice day." He did not apologize. He walked to his sedan and drove away. Wanda stood in the doorway holding the envelope like it was a bomb. Tiffany snatched it from her hands. "What is this?" Tiffany snapped. She ripped it open. She pulled out the legal documents. The paper was thick, bonded legal paper. Tiffany began to read out loud. Her voice shook. Notice of termination of life tenancy agreement. Immediate eviction notice. What does that mean? Wanda asked. Her voice was trembling. It means we are being kicked out, Tiffany screamed. She pointed at a paragraph in the middle of the page. Look at this. Reason for termination. Unauthorized destruction of property. Structural damage to the master bedroom wall, attempted by unapproved occupant Tiffany Miller. The room went silent. I zoomed in on the camera. I wanted to see their faces. They were realizing that the hammer had not just fallen, it had crushed them. Tiffany had taken a hammer to my drywall earlier that morning to start her yoga renovation. She thought she was improving the feng shui. My lawyer saw it as a breach of contract regarding the preservation of the asset. That one hole in the wall was all Regina needed to void the life estate. Wanda collapsed onto the sofa. She actually collapsed. It was theatrical, but the fear in her eyes was real. She evicted her own mother, she whispered. She actually did it. She put her own mother on the street over a hole in the wall. Dante looked at Tiffany. You did this, he said. You had to have your yoga corner. You had to touch her stuff. I told you not to touch her stuff. Tiffany turned on him. The sweat was running down her neck and her makeup was melting. She looked at Dante with pure hatred. Do not yell at me, she hissed. You lied to me. You said this was your house. You said your family had money. You said you were an investor. You are nothing. You are a broke little boy living off his big sister's allowance. Dante looked desperate. Babe, please, he said. We can fix this. Think about the baby. Think about our son. Tiffany laughed. It was a cruel, jagged sound that echoed in the hot, silent house. There is no baby, she said. The silence that followed was heavier than the heat. Wanda looked up from the couch. Dante froze. What did you say? Dante whispered. I said there is no baby, Tiffany yelled. She threw the eviction notice at him. I made it up. I thought if I said I was pregnant, your sister would loosen the purse strings. I thought she would buy us a house. I thought she would pay for the wedding. But clearly she is colder than ice. Dante looked like he had been shot. You lied, he stammered. Yeah, I lied, Tiffany said. She grabbed her purse. And thank God I did. Imagine being tied to this loser family for 18 years. I am out of here. I am going back to my ex. At least he has a credit score over 600. She stormed out. She did not look back. I watched Dante sink to the floor. He put his head in his hands. The golden child was tarnished. His trophy wife was gone. His car was dead. His house was gone. And then the phone call started. I put my phone on the desk and watched the screen light up. Missed call. Mom. Missed call. Mom. Missed call. Dante. The first 10 calls were rage. I could tell by the voicemails. Pick up the phone, Simone. How dare you? You ungrateful brat. I gave birth to you. You cannot do this to me. I did not answer. Calls 11 through 40 changed tone. The anger turned into bargaining. Simone, honey. Look, we are sorry about the wall. We will fix it. Dante can patch it up. Let's just talk. Turn the lights back on and we can discuss this like adults. Just call me back. I sipped my water. I checked the stock market. I did not answer. Calls 41 through 80 were panic. Pure, unadulterated panic. Simone, please. It is so hot in here. Your father is confused. My blood pressure is sky high. Do you want to kill me? Do you want your mother to have a stroke? We have nowhere to go. The neighbors are watching. Please, Simone. I love you. We are family. 86 missed calls. 86 times they tried to reach the girl they had ignored for years. 86 times they reached out to the wallet they had been draining. My phone rang for the 87th time. I picked it up. Hello, Mother, I said. My voice was calm. Even. Wanda screamed on the other end. Simone! Oh, thank God. Simone, you have to stop this. The police are here. They say we have to leave by 5 o'clock. You have to tell them it is a mistake. It is not a mistake, Mother, I said. But we are family, Wanda wailed. How can you choose money over family? How can you choose a house over your own blood? We raised you. We are family. I closed my eyes for a second. I thought about the $20 she left me when I was 11. I thought about the empty fridge. I thought about the way she looked at me when I paid off their bankruptcy, not with gratitude, but with expectation. Yes, I said softly. You are right. We are family. There was a silence on the line. She thought she had won. She thought the guilt had finally worked. But I continued. My voice hardened into the tone I use when I'm rejecting a high-risk loan application at the bank. We are family, Mother. But that house is not a home. That house is an investment portfolio. It is an asset. And you and Dante have unfortunately become a liability. You have damaged the asset. You have drained the equity. Simone. What are you talking about? Wanda cried. I am talking about business, Mother, I said. In the banking world, when an investment stops yielding returns and starts costing more than it is worth, we call it a bad debt. I paused. I wanted her to hear this. I wanted her to understand that this was not a tantrum. This was a transaction. You have become a bad debt, Mother. And the bank does not negotiate with bad debt. It writes it off. And I am writing you off. But where will we go? She sobbed. I do not know, I said. You wanted me to be independent when I was 11. Now it is your turn. I hung up the phone. I looked at the screen one last time. I saw the police officers escorting my mother off the porch. I saw Dante dragging a suitcase down the driveway. I saw the empty house standing tall and proud. I reached over and unplugged the iPad. The screen went black. The show was over. 3 months have passed since the day the process server knocked on the door of the house on Oakwood Drive. 90 days of silence. 90 days of peace. I am standing on the terrace of my new penthouse in uptown Charlotte. The wind is different up here. It feels cleaner. There is no smell of my mother's pot roast. There is no sound of Dante's video games blasting through the walls. There is only the hum of the city 20 stories below and the soft jazz playing from my surround sound system. I sold the house. The market was hot, and I did not hesitate. I listed it the day after they moved out. I did not even patch the hole Tiffany made in the wall. I just hung a piece of art over it and sold it as is. The equity checks cleared 2 weeks later. I took every single dime of the capital gains. I did not feel guilty. That money was my reimbursement for 5 years of mortgage payments, insurance premiums, and emotional labor. I used it as a down payment on this place. This building has a 24-hour doorman. It has biometric scanners in the elevators. No one gets to my floor unless I want them to. There are no surprise visits here. There are no knocks on the door at midnight because someone needs money. I heard through my Aunt Sarah what happened to them. Aunt Sarah always did like to gossip. She told me that Wanda and Robert are living in a 2-bedroom apartment near the airport. It is not a nice complex. It is the kind of place where the walls are thin and the hallways smell like old cigarettes. It is Section 8 housing. It is a far cry from the suburban prestige they clung to for so long. They cannot host church luncheons anymore because there is no room for the table. They cannot brag to the neighbors because the neighbors are struggling just as much as they are. And Dante, my brother, the golden child. Aunt Sarah told me that Tiffany left him exactly 4 hours after the eviction notice was served. She did not even help him pack his boxes. She called an Uber, threw her ring at him, and told him to lose her number. She said she does not date men who live with their mothers. The irony is delicious, because now Dante is living with his mother again. But this time, he is sleeping on a lumpy pull-out couch in a cramped living room, listening to planes take off overhead every 10 minutes. He has no car. He has no credit. He has no wife. And he has no sister to blame. People tell you that family is the most important thing in the world. They tell you that you should set yourself on fire to keep your parents warm. They tell you that a good daughter forgives. But they never tell you what happens when the fire burns you down to ash. I realized that I was not their daughter. I was their insurance policy. I was their retirement plan. I was their safety net. And the problem with being a safety net is that people never learn how to stop falling. They just expect you to catch them. I stopped catching them. And yes, they hit the ground. But that is gravity. That is physics. That is life. I walked back into my living room. It is decorated exactly the way I want. Minimalist, clean, gray walls, no pink, no blue. Just cool, calm gray. My phone started to vibrate on the marble island in the kitchen. I walked over and looked at the screen. It was the number I knew by heart. The number that used to make my stomach clench. The number that meant a crisis was coming. Wanda. I let it vibrate. I did not feel a spike of adrenaline. I did not feel fear. I felt nothing. It was just a noise. I picked up the phone. I did not answer it. I tapped the edit button on the contact. I deleted the word mom. That word implies a relationship of care and nurturing. That relationship does not exist. I typed in a new name, a name that reflected reality. Tenant evicted. Do not answer. I saved the contact. The phone stopped ringing. The screen went dark. I poured myself a glass of Cabernet. I walked back out to the terrace and looked at the city lights. Some people might say I am cold. Some people might say I am cruel. They might say I abandoned my family in their time of need. But I know the truth. I did not abandon them. I evicted the toxicity from my life. I protected my credit score. I protected my sanity. And for the first time in 32 years, I am not just a risk analyst for a bank. I am the risk analyst for my own life. And I have finally eliminated the biggest liability on my balance sheet. I took a sip of wine. It tasted like freedom, the end. The most dangerous lie we are taught is that family always deserves forgiveness, even when they are the ones holding the knife. Simone's story proves that financial independence is the ultimate form of self-defense. You are not selfish for protecting the assets you worked for, and you are not cruel for closing the door on people who only knock when they need money. Being a cycle breaker means accepting that some bridges need to be burned so you can finally see the path forward. Never let the phrase, "blood is thicker than water," become a valid reason to let yourself drown. If you are ready to stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm, hit that subscribe button and share this story with someone who needs the courage to say, enough.